Welcome back, everybody, to another Premier League weekend reaction podcast. I'm your host, Gary, joined as always, and finally back from his terrible, infectious stag do. It is Alex. Alex, how are you doing?
Not very well, you backstabbing fuck. I see what you said. Accusing me of just having a bad
Why
hangover.
backstab? Why? I'm stating facts here. That's not backstabbing if you're stating facts.
I'll tell you why, because I called you from my borderline deathbed, like, oh, I'm so ill. Oh, yeah, you're just trying to stag.
Yeah. These are the facts. I'm not misinterpreting any type of information. This is what happened.
Twisted facts.
Well, you tried to twist it by saying it wasn't stag do related. So. Where are we? I don't know. If you're new here, subscribe to us. We'd really appreciate it. Real football is back. Real football is back. Premier League football, that is, not the horrible international football that we have to endure. I'm so ready to give up on international football, even after the amazing European campaign that we went through. I feel like I'm backstabbing them straight away.
I'll take like a Diet Pepsi version of like kind of giving up. I give up on international friendlies and qualifiers. I just want pure competitive, like Grand Prix format international football.
Yes, absolutely. But what's coming up in today's episode? We have got winners and losers of the week, as usual. We're talking Leicester City versus Man United. Holy smokes, we can talk about that for a while. Newcastle and Tottenham also had an absolute cracker too. And we've got goal of the week. First things first, though, as we usually do, we start off with winners of the week. Would you like to go first, Alex, or would you like myself to go?
No, that's fine. I will go first, Gary. My winners, plural, of the week is Dyer and Regulon, and it is for no sporting reason whatsoever, because there's no way I'd argue either of them were the best player of like it was no footballing reasons. The reason why they win by winners of the week is just because of how quickly both of them reacted. Regulon, he was very quick to alert the referee to the fact that a Newcastle fan had been taken ill in the stands, and Dyer sprinted over to the Newcastle bench to get a defibrillator for him as quickly as possible. So completely non-sporting related, but just their reactions, it could have saved life. And I think he's supposed to be doing a lot better now, so they win it for me.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing stuff. It's kind of sort of like the incident that we saw with oh my god, the chap I forgot.
Ericsson.
No, not Ericsson.
Oh, Muamba.
Fabrice Muamba.
That was Tottenham as well.
I know, yeah, which is kind of crazy. You just the curse of it, yes. of it all. But yeah, you had instant like that, which was super scary, and you had a doctor coming onto the field. So it's a great football community to come and help the distressed person.
That was quite an interesting one, because I tell you what, I think there was a doctor in the stands who was like an expert in in that field, and so he come from like hunter stands and come diving into help for every moment. But
yeah. So great win. Dyer and Regulon. Yeah, I don't know how they spotted that, but they did absolutely amazing. Onto the football though. Winners of the week. May I go?
Yes, go.
For me, I have one. I do have, which is Newcastle related, runner-up, is Newcastle fans, right? I don't care when the takeover got announced. I feel like it was rolled over to this week, no matter what. Newcastle may have lost, but they don't care. They don't care. They have new ownership. They're out of the sticky thumb of Mike Ashley, and they're breathing new life into this club. They're finally hopeful and optimistic of their future, which they should be. And I think, yeah, it's bad to lose, and the position that they are in the table is quite worrying. But I still would regard them as winners of the week for suffering for so long. But my actual winner of the week, it is Roberto Firmino for me. Had to be really patient this season. Really, really patient. He's in and out of the lineup. He's competing with Diogo Jota. Mane and Salah are not going to lose their positions at all, especially Mo Salah, because he's on a trip right now. And he's been struggling in this Liverpool team for a little while, and he has the curse of not being able to score at home. But I just thought it was a good way to respond. He got the nod ahead of Jota. Um, Jurgen Klopp gave him faith, started him, and he responded with a hat trick. And I know the hat trick, it seemed like a bunch of tappers. They were basically a bunch of tappers. But in this Liverpool side, the way that Mane and Mo Salah create chances, he did absolutely what he needs to do as Liverpool's number 9. He has to show the instinct. He has to show, the instinct that Cristiano Ronaldo was having the last couple of weeks up until most recently. That is what he needs to do on top of being able to provide for Mo Salah and Mane, because he comes in deep. He's not always going into the box, but he showed a lot of diversity in his game today. So I thought, for me, he is winner of the week.
Do you know what? It was a very close second for me, and I tell you why. Right? I love an underdog. I absolutely love an underdog, and I don't know how Salah has done this, but it just shows you how impressive Salah is. But there's not many times that you will score a hat trick and then a player in your own team will somehow get more plaudits. So, like, for me, he almost got it simply for the fact I was like, have people forgotten that this guy had knocked in a hat trick?
I know it's unfortunate. I just think because the goals were so basic, that's why it got overlooked. And Salah's goal was ridiculous, and it was also on top of the goal that he scored against Man City. So the superlatives are just they're out of control. Totally deserved for Mo Salah. But yeah, it's a bit unfortunate for Roberto Firmino. But we look past that, and we award winner of the week based on merit. Now, if we're done with winners of the week, do we go over to loser of the week straight away?
I think so. I have a few runners up for this as well. I have a few runners up. Basically, I think everyone's a loser right now, right? No, my first runner up. So I should probably put this out there, right? I actually don't mind Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I think he's like kind of. I don't think he says like kind of any like kind of horrendously bad things. I don't think he's like kind of overly controversial.
He does complain a lot.
He does complain a lot, and I think he puts his foot in it a bit. And to be fair, Manchester United have come out and said that this was taken the wrong way. So I'm going to put that in there before I actually say what has been reported was said. But apparently, it came out that he said to Marcus Rashford that he should be concentrating more on football.
I wonder how that got leaked.
Well, considering Marcus Rashford he hasn't been out, shagging people he shouldn't. Just
I know, exactly.
He hasn't been like kind of sitting there playing like Warzone till 2 a.m. in the morning. This guy has been going out and doing all sorts of charitable things and trying the best to raise awareness of kind of kids who like kind of don't have as much money and trying to get them fed. I really hope it was taken in poor. It was taken out of context, but if it wasn't, that is just it's really, really, let's say, bad taste. So he's one of my runners up if he said it, because let's be honest, our media are a bunch of like they're shitbags, right? There is every chance that they would take something and twist it as much as they could. So that's it. If it did happen, then he would go straight up there.
But I do understand what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is on about. Like, only if it's gone to a case where it's distracting away from his actual football. Because like, if he improves his football, gets better, earns better contract, he can help more people.
But the only thing that doesn't make sense to me is he's been out injured. So there's nothing like, unless like, it's very tough to tell if a player like kind of how he's training and how he's playing if he's not playing. So that's why it seems even weirder to me, the timing of it.
Okay, fair enough.
My second runner-up is goalkeepers, and this is specifically Pickford and Darlow. And I'll tell you why, is because both of them, they both moaned to the referee, and I think Pickford even had a bit of a moan after the game. Both of them, they went up to get the ball. They went up to claim the ball up high. I don't know why I'm doing the motion. Everyone knows what that is. And they got challenged by an attacking player who didn't jump into them, just jumped with them.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't get the ball. It didn't end up how they thought they wanted it to, and they moaned about it. And like, there is no way that's a foul. There is no way. They're not jumping into the player. They're just jumping with the goalkeeper. They've got every right to do that.
It's just the new directive. It's been dangerous for a while, and it does happen with goalkeepers, right? Yeah. Crowded box, crosses, corners. like center
These
halves and strike. I know that the situation is
okay,
different,
okay.
right? But this is their way of complaining because they've always had center halves, strikers really dig into them. Basically, they know the goalkeeper is going to catch the ball, but they still stick their arse out, stick their back into them, like hurt the goalkeeper and destabilize them so that when they're falling, it's quite dangerous.
But they do that against other players. So for me, it's like kind of it's quite a clear line in the sand to when like kind of you're going trying to undercut a player and trying to like kind of make sure he falls awkwardly, and to when you're like kind of when you're just jumping with them. I think it's quite easy to like identify the differences. So that's why I don't like the fact they're moaning when I don't think the attacking player did anything wrong in those instances. But you are right, there are definitely instances where a player like kind of will just like kind of give them a little nudge as they're going up.
Right. Harsh for the
Oh, I
losers of
haven't
the
even
week.
said my actual loser of the week. I should
Yeah.
probably say that. Steve Bruce.
It was only going to be one, wasn't it?
Wait, no, let me tell you why. He's not the loser of the week because he has been a loser this week. He's the loser of the week, so I feel like he's lost the most this week. And I'll tell you why, right? I don't know if you saw it, but Sky Sports before he was talking to Sky Sports beforehand, and he was just speaking so wonderfully about Newcastle, and you could see how much he loved Newcastle. And it was quite sad the way he was speaking about that club and the fact that he's like kind of a bit of a dead man walking. Everyone's expecting to get the sack, which I think is probably the right thing for Newcastle. But I still feel it's quite sad for him. So for me, the fact he's probably going to lose his job, which probably been his favourite job of his career. Yeah, it's a little bit sad. So I don't want to say loser of the week. He's lost the most maybe this week. Does that
Couldn't
right?
bank on the goodwill because like new owners, and at any point, like if Steve Bruce starts picking up the results, then it's a lot brighter situation. But to lose straight away the first game after ownership changes just makes everything a bit flat. If I add to that, maybe I might pick John Joe Shelvey. I don't know what minute he came on. Can't remember. 60th minute, 68th minute.
60-second.
62nd. Okay. But I got a good range there. Came on. He said it before the game that in and out of the lineup, I think he's in his last year's contract. He wants to earn his new contract. And he said it that he put it on himself to earn his new contract. And he really needs to focus and pick up his performances. What does he do? To be fair, it is a frustrating situation that he was in. Come on, he's a combative midfielder. Ndombele was running rings around him, and he proceeded to get 2 yellow cards and get sent off, which put Newcastle kind of put their chances, flat in terms of trying to properly get back into this game.
I've never understood players who, where they're the last man, where they take out the player and they know they're on a yellow card. I will never understand it because, like, yes, you might be saving a goal, but you always have more chance of kind of getting a goal or like kind of bringing it back with 11 men on the pitch.
Yeah,
like you're just like kind of like, yes, you may have stopped like kind of them scoring another goal and you've lost the game anyway. But if they miss that chance, which Reguilon isn't the best finisher, right? If they miss that chance, they're going to have a lot more chance to get back into it with 11 men. So I've never really understood that. And it was the 68th minute, not 62nd. I remember.
Oh, see, I got it right.
He was right. I could have just kept quiet and just carried on with the confidence, just like shh, I was right. But no, you was right as 68th. It's because the 82nd minute he got sent off.
Because of that, I'm going to name my nominee, right, of loser of the week. And that is Tottenham's third kit. You know how upsetting it was to watch that kit and watch the game. It was so painful. That is one of the most horrific kits I've ever seen. It looks like an old granny's knickers when they think it's sexy.
Firstly, how experienced are you in that department?
Secondly, a great experience, my friend.
I would say it looks like Barney had sex with a map of Canada. It's not great.
Is it a map?
But yeah,
of course,
you can do it to whatever you want. And last runner-up is probably, we should probably mention this, but Aston Villa to be 2-0 up in the last 10 minutes and to lose 3-2, against rivals. Like I don't think Aston Villa fans would call it. It's like one of the. It's like kind of maybe when Crystal Palace might play like Watford. You know what I mean? It's like very small, but still to lose 3-2 when you're 2-0 up at 10 minutes, that is a little bit loser town. So I think we've gone through everyone there. We've got everyone who could possibly win it. We should move on.
Carl is stewing. He's ready to. Well, he
Lay
probably
into
will.
us.
Actually, will agree. Actually, we have So that is winners and losers of the week. Loser of the week. We had quite a few good nominees. This was a jam-packed weekend. So we love it, and we do love it. Now we move on to game of the week, and we are talking Leicester City versus Man United. I feel like Man United, you just can't. Every week we have to talk about them. It's like they're blockbuster news. Like you can't avoid them. Don't want to talk about them every week, but they're quite fascinating. Yeah, all the heat is coming on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, right? United lost 4-2, terrible loss. Really didn't play well at all. Starts off well, but went pretty bad quickly thereafter. My sort of question is, right? We've been talking about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer a lot, right? Do you think now, finally, it is all on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? Is he fully to blame now? Because I didn't see a lot going on in terms of Man United's tactics that really struggled to get out from the back. And offensively, I just saw a bunch of long shots. I didn't see anything incisive or creative. And that's pretty bad considering at the end of the day, the budget that they have, the investment that they put in the squad, it's going to come back on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I always think.
For me personally, I feel like the bulk of the responsibility has always fallen to Ole, and that's during the good times as well. Because you have to remember, there's been quite a few times during his reign where he's gone on some incredible runs with Manchester United.
He has,
and it was, they haven't lost away from home. Like it was in quite a few games. I can't remember how many it was now. So yeah, I feel like for the good and the bad, Ole has always been at the blame. And I don't think he's a bad manager. I don't.
No, I don't think he's a bad manager. I just don't think he's the right manager for Man United.
It's not even that. But the thing is, if you put a world-class manager, so I'm talking your Peps, your Contes, your Klopps, if you put a world-class manager in charge of the caliber of players that are currently walking around Old Trafford, I am 99.999% sure that the results would be better. And it's tough to put my finger on like kind of what is missing with Ole, whether it's on the training field or his man management or if it's on the tactical board. I'm not sure, but I don't think it's the players. I feel like he's had enough quality players and he's had like kind of enough balance in that team to try and create something. And it's never really reached the level which it should have reached. And it's quite ironic we're talking about this really, because at the start of the season, right, we asked the question, when does Ole start earning respect for doing well? After he finished second last season and he had quite a good season, right? Got through to the final as well. And if anything, at the start of this season, I think his reputation has gone backwards. It's not looking good because even though the results have been quite okay, the performances over the last few games really haven't been good.
I will try my best to defend Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. It's kind of weird trying to defend it, but I'll come from a different angle, right?
Go on.
I'd say, do you not think investment is 100% there? They are backing him 100%, right?
Yep.
But do you not think that the director of football, Ed Woodward, is kind of going on his own strategy, not working really in line with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? He has to. I mean, these are luxury problems to have, right? But having someone like Donny van der Beek come in, really not needed at all. You've got Cristiano Ronaldo has come in. Basically, they were scared of Manchester City getting him, so they just panicked and they got Cristiano Ronaldo, who's, in my opinion, as great as he is, not the right player for Man United. And on top of that, they originally invested in Jadon Sancho, and they're getting that all mixed up right now. So he's just got a little of problems. And like you said, maybe his man management is not so great, that making it very difficult for him. That's just my only.
No,
and not giving him a proper midfield as well, I'd say.
I think I think you make a fair point, and I do think that probably doesn't help Ollie. But I would still maintain that if a better manager was in charge of these players, even with an unhelpful director of football, I still think they would get better results, and I do genuinely believe that.
Yeah, I think they should just rip the band-aid off and get Conte. That's my genuine opinion. Yeah, this game. I don't like to single out any players, right?
Mm.
Usually. Try not to. But Maguire had a bit of a shocker this game. Quite bad. I guess it was the whole back four, Matic and Pogba included. Playing at the back, they looked so pedestrian. They looked a bit not scared, but didn't have the right confidence to bypass Leicester's press. Leicester's press was very impressive, but they had opportunities to get out of that. And Pogba spoke about it quite well as well. He outlined the fact that Man United just they've had this problem for a while, building up play from the back. They don't have quite the confidence or the arrogance that you are required to play out from the back. You know, the way that Liverpool and Manchester City do it, and Chelsea now, they just don't have that, right? They have a lot of immobile midfielders, I feel.
Do you know what? I'm going to stop you there, and I'll tell you why. Because I was just talking about Ollie. I think part of the reason why is probably down to the manager, because it's not just those teams that do it. Leeds do it. Crystal Palace under Vieira have started to do it.
Try,
So I'd
yeah.
say that's probably down to Ollie as well. So you just added full fuel to the fire that the one you're trying to defend.
I know. But I think on top of that, right,
Mm.
there comes a stage where there's some man management required, right? Either from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer or from one of your leaders in Maguire. And I felt that Maguire had a poor game, didn't really lead Man United. He was culpable for the very first goal, got caught out in possession quite a few times, and was quite weak in the challenge where, Leicester, I think he just fell over when the ball came back into the Man United box, and I don't understand. You're way bigger than everyone. I don't know what you're doing there, and show a bit of leadership when Man United just score as well. They conceded straight afterwards. Right, I'm going to say this: Maguire is very good, leader of England, leader of Man United, but we see this type of performance from him quite a number of times throughout the season, but he does have good spells of form. But am I making too much of this performance?
I agree with everything you've said, except for how regular the bad performances are. I think they are I think back in the day they used to happen like kind of a little bit more and like a little bit of Leicester, and certainly these early days of Manchester United. I think we see them a lot less these days. So I think, kind of as he's kind of getting more experience, I think we're seeing that less and less. But I do agree with you that it was a really, really subpar performance from him. And the thing is, I feel like Maguire, he's usually like he's one of their best defenders, and he is usually a leader. So we aren't used to seeing Maguire like kind of have a game like this. So when he does do that, I feel like it makes it look so much worse when it's him. And especially as you rightly said, he is a leader for Manchester United at the back. And when he's not playing well, it doesn't surprise me that the rest of the players around him like kind of follow suit, because I feel like in that defense he is that main guy, and he had a bad day at the office, shall we say?
He had a bad day at the office, but not as bad as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Quick question, right? What is it going to take for Ole to get the sack? Because I feel like it's finally edged when the majority of fans think that he should go. Let me. Can I just name the fixtures that they got coming up?
Yes.
Right. They got Atalanta in the Champions League, right? Then they got Liverpool at home, big derby. Tottenham away the next game. Atalanta away in the Champions League again. Then they got the Manchester derby. Crikey. Watford away, that's the sort of only respite. Then Villarreal away, who they lost to in the Europa League
last
season. And then they got Chelsea away. And then they've got Arsenal at home. Might not be as hard that game, but still, it might be a tough game. This run of fixtures, I don't know. I just counted what that's 10, 11 games, something like that. His job is on the line, definitely. These next 10, 11 games.
I imagine if I was Manchester United, there's a few things. I've just had a quick Google now because of my excellent Google skills. His contract expires in 2024, which I think is quite relevant as the longer he hasn't left his contract, the more Manchester United have to pay to release him, right?
Yep.
I think if he loses every game up until the next international break, which is in a few weeks' time, I think they might consider pulling the plug. But I think the other thing is I don't know if, like, don't get me wrong, if I was Manchester United, I would get Conte in and I would make it the right fit. Do you know what I mean? I would get the players in to make it the right fit. But right now, if you look at that squad, that is not a squad built for Conte.
I'm telling you right now, right? This is probably not going to happen. Man United against Atalanta, they'll probably win that game. Lose to Liverpool. If they lose to Liverpool, then they draw to Tottenham. Say they draw against Atalanta or lose, and then they lose against Manchester City. Then I think that his time is up because that's just not good enough. I'm not saying it's happening.
I agree. We'll move on from this now. The last thing I'm going to say on it, right, is that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, right, he has a superb ability that as soon as it looks like he's going to get sacked, he pulls out some results out the bag. And so I'm just putting it out there, right? If he goes on some ridiculous win streak right now, it would not surprise me because he has that ability. I don't know where he pulls it from. It's like, right, I'm actually going to try now. I don't know what he does, but yeah, we'll leave that there.
I'm going to put my bias hat on, right? Every other team other than Man United do sincerely hope Ole Gunnar Solskjaer stays in the job. So find that form, Ole. We've been talking long about Man United. We have to talk about Leicester City. Thoroughly deserve that victory. Great pressing from the front. Forced United into all sorts of mistakes. Really trapped them. Trapped Maguire, trapped the fullbacks, Shaw and Wan-Bissaka, Jane Sancho as well, and really embarrassed them into creating chances. Embarrassed Maguire. That's the Leicester fans will be absolutely delighted. £80 million and this type of performance. It's exactly what they ordered for the day. Just how impressive were you with Leicester City's performance?
I was super impressed with Leicester City. Super impressed. That's slightly above, really, but below a little.
Yeah.
No, I was super impressed with Leicester City, right? I thought they played really, really well. And do you know what I like most about their performance? It was their drive to attack. They just kept on going at Manchester United, even though United, they were hitting them on the break, right? They were finding chances on the counter. And even though, that's not great for winning games, if the opposition team is able to hit you on the counter, they did not care. They just kept on going for them, and it was a win for anyone watching that game because it made it a really, really entertaining game. They just kept going for him, even after Greenwood's absolute thunder bastard of a goal and Rashford's goal. They just non-stop, and I feel like all the goals they scored were reward for that attacking mindset.
Yeah, can we talk about the goals very quickly? Those are some ridiculous goals, stonkers of a goal. Tielemans banged it into the top left. It just looks like he was getting ready to do a Beckham cross. He pinged it in the top left. Really gave the hair absolutely no chance. And then Jamie Vardy, he's still him saying no to England has been one of the best decisions I feel for him. He's loved at Leicester. Just focus on Leicester. England, it would be good to have him for England, but he's got to think about his career first, and he didn't like the way he was treated with England. So I think
you've got to think he's not
an older chap
anymore.
Yeah, he hasn't got time to be worrying about England.
And you've got to remember, there's people like Paul Scholes who retired when he was like kind of 30, 31. So, I'm not going to turn around and criticise Vardy for doing it at an older age when you got like kind of one of the greats of the Premier League who did it like kind of at such a young age. So, I think fair play to him.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, fair play to him. Fair play to Leicester. I have to mention, a few more superlatives. The mentality, right? Going 1-0 down to attack Man United, even though Man United were, had some decent counter attacks, but they kept pressing from the front, Man United, because they just knew they had joy against Man United. And even when they went, Man United equalized, to show the resilience, show the mentality that they've been showing throughout the entire game. Look at the rewards. They score straight from kickoff. And, we don't need to talk about Jamie Vardy's volley any further, because that was just a ridiculous
outrageous.
volley.
It's outrageous.
Leicester City, amazing. They had a difficult start to the season, right?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't get a lot of wins in the opening games. Europa League campaign. We spoke about their quality. But for me, Leicester City have already proven what a good team they are. And these type of performances don't really surprise me, right? It'd be disrespectful if I was saying, oh, it's like, what an amazing performance. So that came out of nowhere. But they're such a good team, right? And in the last couple of seasons, they start slow, but then they really crack on, and they seem like a shoe-in for Champions League football, and then they fall away. Right now, I don't know if it's not really Leicester City fatigue for me. It's not, because I enjoy watching Leicester City play. But now they got to a stage where, and you can discuss whether or not this is fair to say. For me, it's Premier League results or bust. They have to get to this next level. They got the FA Cup, which is magical, right? When you win an FA Cup. So they do have results that way. But they really need to get into the top 4. Do you think I'm being too harsh on Leicester?
No, I agree. I see them as a Champions League club ready to go, and that is the next step. And I was waiting for them to kind of take that next step.
Because you can't pass on the window. The window comes, you got to take it, and then you got to reinvest.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree, and that's why I have quite high standards for them. Because you mentioned earlier that they had a rough start to the season. And part of that was, because they also had to do with Europa League games. But that's part and parcel of being a big club, which I believe Leicester are. People always talk about the Big Six. We don't call it the Big Six because that's a load of crap. It's the rich six, right? And whenever we talk about one of those teams being pulled away from them, like kind of Tottenham or Arsenal being pulled away from it, who's the first team on everyone's lips to replace, someone in
the
that
most consistent
Big Six? It's Leicester, and they deserve to be there. I feel, they just need to. Actually, I'm being slightly harsh because they did have a bit of an injury crisis earlier in the season, didn't I? So I will take that into account. But for me, they need to start. They are a Champions League club ready to go. They just need to follow through with their promise now.
Yeah, it'd be just really frustrating if they can't capitalize on all their hard work, all their selling their best players for great fees, right? Reinvesting that money. They just need to get in there. They really do. You might pop out like the next season after, but you get there, try and get there semi-regularly, makes the world of difference for Leicester. But okay, Leicester City, good win, right? Game of the week 2. And that is Newcastle versus Tottenham. Tottenham ran out 3-2 winners on the day. Now, first things first, we really hope that the fan who collapsed makes a full recovery, because it's kind of scary to see that happen.
Yeah, good shout.
Yeah, because when it happens to a player, right, all the medical attention, bang, straight away for that player, because it's so obvious. It's on the pitch, everyone's looking at it. But fan, that is something different. I don't think we've ever seen that. Oh, certainly I haven't seen it. So the football community's done really well to have captured that, and for the most part, hopefully he is okay. This game had everything though: goals, VAR incidents, red cards, own goals, almost a pen. Could be described as a dive. We picked it over Aston Villa versus Wolves because of this. Let's start with Newcastle. We have to. It started also well for Newcastle. You had the whole momentum built from Newcastle, new owners. Sky Sports ran, a lot of segments ignoring and all of the bad stuff, focusing on Newcastle fans. Their plight is over.
And poor West Ham versus Everton, because it was all like kind of Newcastle, Newcastle, Newcastle. Oh, by the way, Everton and West Ham are playing a little bit too.
Yeah. You might want to switch to that game, but really you want to watch this game. And Newcastle scored in the very first 3 minutes. Wilson put them ahead with a sweeping move, and St James's Park went absolutely mental. That Stavely woman going crazy in the stands. Representatives of the new owners, mental as well. Crowd who were dressed up, what I can only describe as Middle Eastern headgear, going absolutely mental too. So, but that is just a taste of what everyone knows, that Newcastle have a raucous fan base. That is a taste of the potential of Newcastle, right? But the wheels came off shortly after.
Yeah.
Where did it all go wrong for Newcastle?
I think it went wrong for Newcastle as soon as they were asked to defend.
It was a reasonable request for most teams.
Yeah, sometimes you do need to do a wee bit of defending. Like offensively this season, Newcastle haven't actually been that bad, right? They're like kind of in the mid-table of like kind of goals scored. But defensively, as of right now, they have the worst defense in the Premier League, and that was on full display against Tottenham. For Ndombele's goal, I don't know. Maybe they thought I was playing Zorb football for a bit, but they gave him so much space right on the edge of their box. It's absolutely crazy. And for Kane's goal, it just showed a complete utter lack of positional awareness and a lack of communication, because you had like kind of that back four, but you had two of them. Where's my hands? You had two of them like kind of here, and you had two here. So Kane just took full advantage of that and just ran behind the people here who were higher up. It's absolutely crazy. It's like trying to do a half an offside trap.
That doesn't quite work in the Premier League.
No, it doesn't. And you know what? It was that bad. I was like, oh, that's surely offside. And when I looked it back, I was like, oh, that's pretty fucking awful. And then for Son's goal, look, I could be harsh with that goal there, but I actually think that was quite a well worked goal by Tottenham. So I'm not going to like kind of go in and like kind of be super critical of that. The funny thing is, I actually believe that most Newcastle fans probably know deep down that it's probably going to be a bit of a long process for the fortunes to like kind of turn at the club. But I think they were just so excited, and they got all caught up in the fact that they actually got rid of someone who was owning the club, who didn't want to invest, and they actually got someone in who wants to improve the team. So I suppose my one bit of advice is keep that momentum going that you had like kind of early on in the game. It will get better eventually.
I have one bit of advice for Steve Bruce. He's coming on a lot of pressure, a pressure to play attacking football. I just say stick with what you know, right? You're probably going to get sacked. He's probably going to get sacked anyway. Stick to who you are, right? Be defensive. Just counterattack. Because I feel like when they start attacking on the way back, it's not working at all. Just be who you are, Steve Bruce. I'm sorry, Newcastle fans, but this is just advice for Steve Bruce. Not, and I'm sure the results will pick up. So on that note, right, about upsetting Newcastle fans.
Which you've done.
Yeah. When do you think things will actually get better for Newcastle? Especially when you bear in mind, everyone's seen on stats. They're being linked with top players, managers. In January, they have 33 times as much net worth as Abramovich. Jesus. And they have 13 times more money than Sheikh Mansour. When assuming
is that true?
Newcastle,
that's crazy.
That is crazy money. You're supposedly not linked to the Saudi investment fund. Completely independent. Where do you think, given Newcastle do not get relegated this season, where do you think they'll be, say, by the end of next season?
So Newcastle fans are going to hate me for this, right?
Oh, yeah, they already hate us already.
Yeah, it's like we're
Let's
just
just
trying
go
to be
deeper.
really, yeah. Like, listen, Geordie fans, we're just trying to be realistic, right? We're not trying to hurt you guys, but I think by the, did you say the end of next season?
In the next season.
I think they will still be a mid-table club, right? They will still be a mid-table. Right, hear me out, right? I've got reasons for this. I've got reasons. I have reasons.
Well, it's better than being a relegation club right now, where they are right now.
What? That's true. Yeah, but for the last few seasons, they finished like kind of between, I think, like 10th and 13th. I'd describe them as a mid-table club currently. But here's my reasons why they're still going to be there. One, this isn't a City or a Chelsea, because since they've come in and spent all their money, there's been rules put in where owners can only invest certain amounts into like kind of the squad. So they won't be able to do like a Robinho where he thought he was actually going to Manchester United or a
Yeah, they
Chelsea, like
can't do. Yeah, they can't do a Chelsea. They can't do a Man City.
which almost seems unfair because obviously Chelsea and City are now reaping the benefits of that. But look, the rules have been put in place; you can't do that anymore. So that's my first reason, numero uno. The second one, I feel like if we've learned anything, that even when the owner has money, just throwing a load of good players and a good manager together
Doesn't
doesn't.
work.
No, it only works for the super rich. So I am thinking of like kind of the Chelsea's there, but they're able to bring in such a caliber of player just constantly that it was going to work eventually, right? But I feel like anyone outside the super rich, which is basically every other team other than like kind of say four, it just doesn't work. You know, it ends up being like kind of a QPR type situation where you've got all these really good players and you've got quite a good manager in charge, but it doesn't work. There's no like kind of fluidity. There's no like kind of chemistry in the team.
Yeah, they need the
Um,
right people in charge of the football operations, right? You can't, you don't want to get into a situation like a QPR where you're paying way over the odds for average players. And if you pay these average players massive, massive wages, they're going to think they're the dog's bollocks, right? They're going to have ego the size of, you don't know, right? And
yeah.
if you mix that with a sort of elite manager, not quite elite manager, and it all goes Pete, that's a recipe for disaster. So they still have to be smart with their money.
Well, so this is my last point, right? And I think this is the most important one. The rumors coming out of Newcastle, right, is their plan is to grow Newcastle like kind of a little bit slower and a bit more organically, which essentially Newcastle fans, that translates to short-term pain, long-term gain. But that is good news because what that means, they want to get a manager and potentially a sporting director in with a long-term plan, and they're all going to be working towards that and just like kind of getting the right players in at the right time. They also want to invest in the infrastructure and the youth development and the facilities behind the scenes. And to give you an example of a club that did that, it's when the current owners of Leicester City, they bought them in 2010, and they did that model. You know, they didn't go out and spend like loads on players. They invested in the scouting and in their youth team and in their training facilities. And a useless fact for you that when they took over in 2010, they have never finished lower than a season before, bar the crazy title winning season. But
Yeah,
that's
you
like
can't. Yeah, you can't go higher than first.
that's like an exception to the rule because that's like it was such a crazy season, like but they've just been on a constant circle of improvement because they've invested in the infrastructure. So I'd say just just short term pain, long term gain. Stick with it, Geordie fans.
Absolutely, absolutely. We have to mention Tottenham. We have to mention Tottenham in this game. They were the winners. They started slow out of the two. I feel like we could talk about Newcastle all day, but they managed to bring it back, secure the win, even though Dyer's own goal gave them a bit of a fire up the backside. Last few minutes. There were quite some good performances across the board. How did you rate Tottenham's performance, and how do you rate their response from losing the North London derby against London? Because that was a proper rock bottom. It felt against Arsenal because they were whipped, but there's a good strong response from this Tottenham team.
Well, it wasn't just that. That was following two more 3-0 losses. You know what I mean? It was an accumulation of like kind of things which ended with Arsenal. But I feel like their response has been almost perfect because they got the win against Aston Villa, which was Villa are a very, very good team. And Newcastle, they haven't been great this season, but they still managed to get the win. And against Newcastle, I actually thought they played really well. Don't get me wrong, they did start slow, and I think Newcastle took full advantage of kind of Tottenham starting slow. Once Tottenham did manage to settle down, they created quite a few good chances, and they also limited the amount of chances that Newcastle were able to create. And I do, at this moment in time, I do wish to give a little shout out to Oliver Skipp, right? I don't think he was Tottenham's best player against Newcastle. I think for me, that was Ndombele. And
yeah, I was going to go with Ndombele.
Okay, we'll stick with Ndombele, right? I think for me, it was Ndombele. But he put in another solid performance, right? And he disrupted a lot of what Newcastle tried to do, and he was very intelligent with his passing. And it's not the first time this season. And I had a quick look into this, right? So, Tottenham had quite a good start results-wise, first 3 games. And then they had the 3 games where they lost 3-0, 3-0, 3-1. And then they started winning games again. Do you know what those losing games have in common?
Skipp played in them all.
Skipp didn't start in the games against Arsenal or Chelsea when the majority of the goals were scored. And against Crystal Palace, he did start. But the goals only started coming in against Tottenham after Tanganga got sent off. So there's not a lot he could do against that. But there's definitely a trend there. He protects that back four so well. And I definitely think there's a bit of a trend there that when he plays, Tottenham are a lot better defensively. And when he doesn't play, well, they get pummeled.
Well, this brings me to my next question then. Have Tottenham turned the corner? Because it feels like, Ndombele, Skipp had really good performances. You feel like if Tottenham are going to get up and running, they need Harry Kane, of course, but they need someone like Ndombele to really kick on as well. You see the potential in this performance that he put in, but you also see the bad side that his performance against Arsenal was. The less said about it, the better, right? That's my question with this Tottenham team. It's too inconsistent. You need these big players to step up. Harry Kane, his mind might be a bit different as well from wanting a different move. So is this fully at the corner?
So you asked me this question, right? A few weeks ago about Arsenal.
Yes.
And you know me, I like to be consistent as much as I can. I like to be consistent and it's difficult to be consistent when I'm Tottenham and you're Arsenal. I want to say, yeah, Tottenham will turn the corner and Arsenal are trash. So, but no,
What's it got to do with Arsenal?
I am Captain Consistency. Oh, I'm going to watch that back in a few hours' time and hate myself for that. But no, you asked me this. No, the reason why is because I said to you about Arsenal is that when they had some really good results, I felt like they hadn't really played a very good team.
Mm-hmm.
And that their test was to play against Brighton. And if they played well against Brighton, I would say they've turned a corner. And if they didn't play well against Brighton, I would say no, they haven't. And against Brighton, I don't think they did play particularly well, so they failed that test. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to apply the same test to Tottenham because Tottenham's next game is against West Ham, right? And that is a game which needs no extra spite. There's already spite there.
Yeah.
And it's always been a bit like kind of a mismatch in the spite because Tottenham have always they try to act as if they've got the high ground and West Ham are just crap. And so it's always been a bit of a mismatch. But now they're both in the trenches. They're both going for that same spot. So that should add that little bit extra to the game. So for me, if Tottenham want to claim that they've turned a corner, they have to go in and get the win against very much high-flying West Ham. They've got to prove it against, Tottenham like to think they're a team that play European football. Then you've got to go in and you've got to beat the top teams. And at the moment, West Ham are a top team.
Yeah, and they've got Man United after that. So they could be back in the dust. So I don't want to go there with the turning the corner just yet.
It's a bit, it's a bit early. They need to be tested as well. I feel like Newcastle, it was a good win, but Newcastle haven't been great this season. I'm not going to say they've turned the corner just yet.
So that is it for Game of the Week. Game of the Week, match 2. We are going on to Goal of the Week. Finally, this week was a bit of a cracker of a week in terms of goals. Holy smokes!
Should we go
straight to it.
3, 2, 1, Salah.
Salah.
Oh, I thought he was going to say at the same time. That's awkward.
No. Oh yeah. Oh,
Leave me
sorry.
hanging. Yeah, Salah.
Always.
Don't get me wrong. There was a lot of contenders for second.
Yeah. Tielemans, Jamie Vardy,
Yeah.
ridiculous half volley. Tielemans' goal kind of reminded me of Ronaldinho's goal against David Seaman, where he just pinged it top level. It kind of was like a shot slash a lob.
Wait, hang on. Who would you pick out of Vardy and Tielemans out of interest?
Oh, it's tough. I love the technique. I love the technique of volleys because you just don't see those goals. You just don't. Half volley outside of the foot, curling away from the goalkeeper just after conceding a goal. But then Tielemans, the arrogance and the audacity to do that. Oh, I'm going for Jamie Vardy's.
Yeah, I would have done Vardy's as well. But no, for me, it has to be Salah. It's
Twinkle Toes, old Twinkle Toes, doing it again.
He had three players around him. And they just couldn't. They looked like they were scared to kind of even go near him, and he just danced around them. And he's very good at that finish where it's like kind of such an acute angle. I feel like he always catches the goalkeeper off guard. I feel like he's very good at that. And it was another one of those finishes. And
do you think this goal was better than the one against Man City?
I'm gonna say no.
Okay.
Now I'll tell you why, because Man City
was better.
Well, it's not just that; it's also with trying not to disrespect Watford down into the dirt, but Man City have much better defenders.
Yeah, and he put those defenders on the floor.
And I can't remember the Man City defenders off the top of my head, but for argument's sake, if you do that against, say,
it was against Diaz.
Well, if you do it against Diaz,
Roberto Diaz,
who's been one of the best, kind of defenders compared to, say, like Danny Rose, who's getting absolutely torn apart by Salah for quite a lot of the game. It makes a difference to me.
Roberto Diaz because of Robert Diaz. His name's actually Ruben Diaz. I just say it wrong.
You forget it's Ruben.
No nomination for Ndombele's goal.
There was no nomination for anyone else for me. It was Salah.
But let's keep it interesting.
No, absolutely not. I don't. You know me. I like straight to the fucking point. There's no third place for kind of our goal of the week. It's either all or nothing, and Salah deserves it. It's in the post. We sent him our award.
Yeah. Hopefully he doesn't think it's hate mail or anything threatening. But yeah, that is it from us. Winners of the week, game of the week, matches 1 and 2, and goal of the week. If you're here, give us a subscribe, give us a like. Really appreciate it. And we will see you next week. Let us know who you think are winners and losers of the week in the comments below. And we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.